So hello everyone, in this tutorial we will be installing Docker on the Ubuntu machine that we have in our virtual box. So just start it, and it will take some time to start, and I'll show you that in last tutorial I showed you that we don't have any Docker installed on this, and I'll be using the GitHub repository that I've made for my project, which is known as OpenCode, the repository from which I'll be storing code, and I'll link it down in the description. So our Ubuntu is running. It will take some time to start. It's getting installed. I'll explain what Docker is and why I went for Docker. Docker installation process that I have here is borrowed from this link. It is from a DigitalOcean link. You can also see the Docker website for how to install it, but I found it quite easy in this link, so I just refer this link. I just open my terminal. If you don't know, the shortcut for the terminal is Ctrl-Alt-T. If I do Ctrl-Alt-T, it will open another terminal. So let's see, I do Docker and it will say Docker command not found. Code open code on. So I finally get it. So just go to the installation branch. I'll automatically give a link to the installation branch itself in the description. So just have the terminal here, right click on it, always on top. So just Ctrl C and paste. So this will update your packages. So our password is tutorials, and this will update the packages. So I was coming back to the point why I chose Docker. So previously me and another guy was working on this project, and then there were some other people which wanted to join. So the thing is, we had to go through a big process to install the PX4 simulation on Ubuntu, but it was not that easy and we faced a lot of errors. And after doing that, we found that the other people, even though making a good documentation, had to go through the same problems and even different problems, because you have heard that line, right? It works on my machine, so it was working on our machine but not on theirs. So it was really problematic, and we wanted to make it as an open source project, and being open source means anyone can use it, and the entry barrier should be very low. So if you can't get any software working on someone else's machine and they have to work hard, they won't like to contribute to that project. So we thought, okay, Docker was the option to go. We can isolate our environment, and without making any changes to our system, anyone can run it, and it should be very easy. So you'll see why Docker is one of the best things. Just once it's done. So basically, suppose it's like having an operating system within an operating system. So I have Ubuntu operating system. Docker also I can download an Ubuntu image and run. It will basically be command line, no GUI, but I can do a whole lot of things. I can be carefree, mess with my system and do whatever I want, and then delete that container. So Docker works on, there are two main important things in Docker to understand. One is Docker images, and one is Docker containers. So if you know about object oriented programming, you know that like there's a class and there's an object. So basically our images are classes and the objects are containers. So whenever I create an object from a class, that is a container from an image, you can do whatever you want to do with that container, mess with Ubuntu, destroy Ubuntu, create new files, you can do whatever you want, and then you can discard that container. And if you are happy with what you have done with that container, you can create a new image out of that container. So you can also so that is one of the best things which I like. So because there are times while installing this software on my native Ubuntu, I destroyed my system. I installed some packages, there was some Python 2 and Python 3 mixing and other things. So this will and then I had to install my system, a fresh install of Ubuntu, and so this was very frustrating for me, because, and then as I told in the last tutorials, it got my Windows bricked, so again install Windows again. So this process of installing things again and again and less focus on developing the algorithms and working on simulation was frustrating. So I finally found that I can use Docker. So but there were tutorials on Docker, but I never knew how to use it for simulation of RAWs in GUI. So once after exploring the Docker pages of ROS wiki and other sources, I finally found it and thought it would be valuable information to share. So here we are, and once this is done, we can just check the Docker version. This command will actually make sure that you have installed Docker properly. Yeah. So, and these two commands are basically so that you don't have to run Docker as using sudo every time. You won't like running like sudo docker this, sudo docker that, because you will be using that command a lot. So basically this is for that. Then we'll basically download the image, pull the image that I've created, and then run a container out of it, and then I can show you some commands. But in the next video tutorial, I'll show you some basic Docker commands which you need to be familiar with, using containers out of that images, stopping containers, and how to list all the containers. So that will be the main agenda for the next video, and after that we can dive into using the Docker package, the Docker image that I've created, and then how you can create your own Docker image and push into the Docker Hub. So basically, like we have GitHub for codes, we have Docker Hub, and unless it's private, you can host any type of images and contribute to the community. And if you go to Docker Hub, you'll get different types of images. So if you're into deep learning or into ROS, you'll also get images of ROS and deep learning, like a PyTorch environment installed, TensorFlow environment installed. So it's actually a great place. Yeah, and if you're a web developer, then it will have the Nginx and Redis and other things. You can see this Nginx, MongoDB, Alpine. If you can, there's Node.js, there's Redis, there's official Ubuntu, there's BusyBox, Maria, and there's a lot of things more. If you're working on something, you can probably find a Docker image for that. And if you don't find, you can obviously make one. You can see it's done, and now I'll just check my Docker version command. So this will just return the version of the Docker, and this also means the Docker has been installed on your system successfully. And okay, yeah, I don't know why it says, okay, yeah, it says got permission while trying to connect with Docker version. It's okay, blah, blah, blah. Permission denied, and then it says Docker version is, it gives the version. So we'll just do this. We'll see. Yeah, to directly paste it, you can just use the middle mouse click button and tutorials, and then just check Docker version. So you can see now it's okay since we have added it to root. Just delete this video, and I'll be going through some basic Docker commands which should be enough for working with basic Docker in the next video.